Betsy the thick water squirrel, aka the beaver, is not an easy character to play, but with the right skills you can win at least 80% of your games with ease. Let's first begin with the items you need to equip to be the best thick water squirrel in the zoo. For your first slot, the obvious choice is jungle shoes. It is a must-have so you can kite or retreat from enemies when near bushes. For slot 2, you want to go to a helium canister. This is a must-have as enemies are going to try their best to come up in your grill. As a thick water squirrel, you are super attractive, so these animals want to come at you. So when you hit your active, you're going to repel them and push them back for the helium canister proc. And the best part about this is your wood is also going to act as a barrel to divide you from those enemies. For slot 3, holy sandals or cluster bombs. Now this depends on your playstyle. Me personally, I prefer the holy sandals because I like to walk on water and throw out my spear and bow and arrow. Also, building a fort on water is pretty cool. But having cluster bomb is extraordinarily powerful. Why? Because you can do a lot of massive AoE damage on the map, as Betsy has a massive radius when it comes to her bombs. The next best thing with it is, if you have the legendary bomb, you're basically taking up half the map with just the size of the way your bombs are thrown out. Now for your fourth slot, you're going to either choose adrenaline shot or a Mazel Tov bomb. Using Mazel Tov bomb is only necessary if you have cluster bomb equipped and you are playing solos. But most of the time you're going to run adrenaline shot because, let me be honest, the thick water squirrel is super thick, but she can be very squishy if the right animal comes up to her. Now one thing I wanted to mention is if you get an S tier item such as muscles or pheromone essence, I want to make sure that you guys understand that pheromone essence for Betsy is a lot greater than using muscles. Yes, muscles you can increase your size and become an even thicker water squirrel, giving yourself that thick water squirrel booty, but it's not going to be as powerful as having those pheromones, because with those pheromones you're also going to be able to stun your opponent, push them back, and do some easy damage to a non-moving target. Now for your weapon traits, it's pretty easy. All you're going to do for spear is first you're going to max out range, then you're going to max out cooldown reduction. For bow, you're going to max range first, then radius. And for bomb, you're going to max range first, then radius. But in actuality for bomb, you can do it in the reverse order, but I just prefer to have that extra range because I like to build my fort and keep my distance against my enemies when it comes to playing Betsy. Now let's start on with these Betsy tips that are going to increase your gameplay 100-fold. One thing I want to clear up here in a little summary that, remember, Betsy's active drops logs and Betsy passive allows you to eat these logs to regen health. The thick water squirrel, aka known as Betsy, does have the same playstyle throughout all her levels. It only changes a little bit when you get her Primal Instinct, which allows you to reflect damage done to your logs. Tip number 1 is extremely important when it comes to Betsy. Honestly, if you're not aware of the enemies on the map and you're wide in the open, you want to have your spear ready to go. Why? Because it increases your view range on Betsy, allowing you to see further on the map and know where you need to drop that spear to do that thick water squirrel damage. Tip number 2, try your best not to engage on animals up close and personal. Why? Because as Betsy, your main objective is to fight at your range. So if they come up to you, again, that's why you have helium canister and your logs to do that awesome separation. Now, this also means when you see a fight going on, you keep to your max range distance and keep throwing your spear and your bomb, as they're going to have the biggest range. Now, you're going to use your bow and arrow when necessary to a closer range distance if they're coming at you, while you separate them with your logs. Tip number 3, and this is a very important tip when it comes to Betsy players, is that you need to try your best to use your logs to slowly set up a parameter as you're moving across the map. So I found in my personal experience that as I move across the map, when I realize that I'm getting close to enemies, I will literally drop at least one log so I can play around it in case these enemies dash into me. That little separation can save you a lot, especially if you have your Primal Instinct and they shoot and hit that, they're going to get a lot of damage hitting them back in their face. Tip number 4, learn how to play siege gameplay on Betsy. So the best way to play siege gameplay, yes, the most common players will tend to use all their logs to build themselves a little fort, but that's not always the best way. One of the best ways to use this is use the environment on the map as well, as the walls, the caves, the trees, and build your 1 or 2 logs around those corners, blocking yourself off or giving yourself just enough space to go back. Also keeping your 3rd log available in case you need to run away or use your helium canister to push them back just enough to do some damage and get distance away from you. Now for your next tip, this is kind of obvious, but I'll be honest with you, I've made this mistake a lot of times. You need to remember that Bruce cannot be affected by knockbacks. So helium canister, any of those things are not going to help you. So what you need to understand is the only thing you have to keep that Bruce away is your log. So you stay at a distance, and if they're coming after you, you drop a log and run back while you're throwing out your spear, your arrows, and your bombs. Now, if they so happen to be running away, don't chase them. Only chase them if you know for sure you couldn't get that kill. If you know they're baiting you or you have a sense that you are going to be in danger and it's very risky, do not take it. because most of the time, those Bruces are gonna wait for you to mess up and go straight in and do that damage. And as I said before, the thick water squirrel is not as thick as you could be. And the last tip, which in my opinion is very important for these players who have been able to obtain the Primal Instinct on Betsy. So when you get the Primal Instinct, again, your logs does reflect damage. So what you're gonna wanna do is any character that you know has a single shot or a rapid fire, you need to have that log ready to put right in front of them so they can do damage and take out half their life. You will see in these clips here that I'm literally placing these logs on Skippies, Henrys, and Nixes, and they're getting that damage straight back into their face, which allows them to run away in fear. It's awesome. Literally, I've been able to one-shot a Skippy just by putting down these logs, and he basically killed himself. Alright guys, and this is what I used to be one of the greatest Betsy players out there. I was going to say the best Betsy player, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not the greatest Betsy player. I'm pretty decent though. I can wreck some players easily with Betsy. But there comes times when I'm not thinking enough and I can't play this character. It's a little too complicated, but I hope this guide helps you guys, and please leave a like on this video. Leave a comment down below letting me know what game you'd like me to cover next or what kind of video you would like me to make, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!